Hi and welcome to Leaders Live, hosted by Business Battlefield. With me today is Gustav from Thybo, who is the CEO and co-founder of flyhjaelp.
Exactly. Yeah.
So let's dive into the questions. Please describe your experience with leadership. Specifically, how was the transitioning from being the leader of 3 guys in your parents' basement to scaling up to 65 employees in a few years, and then scaling down to 22 due to the corona pandemic?
Yeah. So I think that I'm pretty lucky to have experienced a lot of leadership beside my young age, 30 years old right now. I have experienced to found a company, to get the first customers, to get the first employees, to expand to 3 different markets in the Nordic, also Turkey, but we might get back to that later. I experienced to outsource some part of the operations to another country where they were lower paid, creating the strategy, creating the vision, and creating a good working culture. And here 2 months ago, I experienced also to selling our company to the European market leader. So I think that I have done a lot of leadership so far, but I still have a lot to learn, of course.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And how would you describe your leadership style today?
Yeah, so I find it really hard to describe my own leadership style, but I will try to do it anyway. I think that I'm a person who are really purpose-driven. I like to create a product that can make a positive influence in the society, because that just makes sense to me. And besides making a positive influence on the society, of course you gotta earn some money along doing the way. But I'm really I like being purpose-driven, and I like to build up a working culture where people go to work because they like to make a positive difference besides money.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that I will describe myself with. Another thing is that I try to be transparent. I try to tell if it's a tough and really important decision, then I try to say, well, we have these 2 options here. This is the good and bad things about this options, and this is the good and bad thing about that option. We have chosen this option because of this, this, and that. And then while explaining why you have done what you have done, people are really supportive about your decision, and it's much easier for them to accept it and to act on it from there. And they might not agree with you, but if you explain why you have done as you did, then a lot of them still support it anyway.
Building further on this, what does it mean to you to be a responsible leader, and how do you aspire to be responsible for your company as well as the surroundings that your company is in?
Yeah. So first of all, I think that leadership is really important, because you have the ability and possibility to influence a lot of people. Like, we spend so much of our life at work, so being a good leader can create a really good energy. It can lift people up, give them more confidence. It can be a really nice time to go to work, and it can be a really bad time. And as a leader, you gotta be aware of your responsibility. So I think that responsible leadership is actually very much to know that you are a really important person for a lot of your colleagues. That's my take on it.
What is your approach to leadership, and how do you incorporate that in your day-to-day practice?
Yeah, so I think I will answer the question about how I incorporate our strategy in a day-to-day basis through my leadership. Our mission in flyhjaelp is to be the biggest and the best in the Nordics. And being the biggest, we of course measure that on how many customers we get. And I try to incorporate that in a daily basis by saying, what can each person do in order to achieve our goal? What can the people from support do? What can the people from marketing do? What can the people from our operations do? So everyone has influence on our goal, and they gotta be aware of it. and they gotta think what can they do in order to achieve our common goal.
Very interesting. And as a young entrepreneur, how would you say this has impacted your leadership style, as well as having a relatively young team at flyhjaelp? And like, has this caused any challenges, and what have you learned along the way?
Yeah, so I think the society in general are really positive about young entrepreneurs. Might even be easier than being an old entrepreneur. But of course it gives some challenges as well. And I remember that hiring the first employee, who was actually way older than me, was tough, because this man has so much more experience than I have, and I have to give him instructions and orders that he have to follow. But I think it hasn't really been any issues for me, like being young. I think that the biggest issue has been in my own mind, but for other people it hasn't been such a big challenge.
And how have you surpassed this and learned from these experience?
I just think that I did it, and I try to put it away. And I think it's also really important that if you got promoted while you are young and in a company, then there's a reason for why you are being promoted and why not everyone else that are older than you are being promoted. This is because that even though you might lack of experience, you still have a lot of qualities, you still have the right mindset, and that's why that the leader has promoted you. And I think if you are a young entrepreneur or leader, then you should just put that away and focus on the business.
Okay. And being the CEO of flyhjaelp, an exponential growing startup, please elaborate on how this environment has influenced your leadership decisions, as it could be expected that you at times had to make decisions very quickly.
Yeah, and so that's also one of the things while starting up a company. Then you have a lot of decisions to make all the time, and sometimes you just gotta outsource the decisions to another person if there are too many. But it's still good to be able to make decisions fast, but of course not too fast. And we have also experienced that especially in the beginning of our company's lifetime, where sometimes we made decisions too fast, and then we changed it, and then we withdrawn it. And people in general don't like so much change, so all the time changing your operations and procedures, that's not bad, that's not so good. So I learned that, well, this is the decision, but let's think it more through before we go and announce it to everyone.
Okay, and lastly, is there a situation of you being the CEO and the leader of flyhjaelp where you made a mistake or messed up, like a specific situation, and like, did you have any takeaways from this?
Yes. So in our company we acted really fast, and that's really good, and that's also the reason for why we have achieved what we have achieved today. But the first big mistake we made, I think it was to expand to Turkey, actually, because we saw a huge market with no competition. There's like 80 million people living in Turkey, so there was a really great market, and there was no other big competitors. And we either thought that this might be because that they were busy with other things, or they have tried it and it didn't work. It could also be like they have done their due diligence and just decided not to go there. But we decided to go there, and I actually lived in Turkey, in Istanbul, for 5 weeks, trying to get our new products in Turkey. And we didn't. It was a failure, actually. But the good thing about it was that we were able to lower our cost, keep it down at a low level, and get fast out of the market. But another time, I think, before we expand to other countries, I think that we will make a better due diligence and research more, because yeah, sometimes if you research more, then it's good, because then you avoid wasting a lot of time by actually doing it. But it's really a balance, because it's also good by being lean and just try things out, see if it works, and if it don't, you just try another thing, and if it works, you just scale it up. So
Yeah.
it's a balance.
Thank you for joining us today, Gustav. It was a pleasure hearing your take on responsible leadership.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah.